Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Separation Space, episode number 4, part 2. Sam has just recorded part 1, where we really delved deep into loneliness and rewriting the story. So, I would urge everybody to go and listen to that one first, and then listen to this one next, because it's slightly
Yeah.
overlaps each other a little bit. So there's a lot of bits of conversation that we talk about power and empowering and how that looks towards the end of the episode. So we had such a great conversation, Sam, about loneliness. So thank you so much. I really
I
enjoyed
really
it.
did
We
enjoy
really,
that. Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it.
yeah. And we were just laughing very quickly before we came on. I said, I bet you're glad you go first. And she went, yes, I am. There's always this like, once we've got our parts out of the way, we then kick back a little bit and go, "Oh, done
Yeah.
now. I've done my bit." Now I'm like that. Oh my God, it's my turn next.
Isn't
Which is
it
what
funny
happened to
how,
me last
how
time.
yeah. And Rachel and I both say every single time. Now we're only doing this to each other. I know we're talking to you guys, but we haven't got an audience now, but we're always so nervous. But I
I
think Rachel
know.
always says to me, "Sarah, because we're passionate about what we do." And it's so true.
We are, and it's like every time we come up with topics that we're going to be discussing, we try and make sure that we do it in a line with the 12-month process of the divorce, which is something I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about. It's part of the
Yeah.
empowerment side. So, reclaiming your power. And the reason why I wanted to talk about reclaiming our power at this particular stage in the 12-month period, because we are kind of almost 6 months in, believe it or not. We're roughly at that 6 month period, is that I've been personally reflecting quite a lot this year and definitely over the last 3 years. And I know with conversations Sam and I have had, even in part 1 that we were just talking about, what we've achieved in these last 6 months just always completely blows me away. And I sometimes think to myself, I know that has come from strength and power from within, because there's this slight misconception about power. When we talk about power, it can have quite a bad connotation in terms of, because what we think power is we think it's associated with control, maybe manipulation. It could be forceful. It could also be where your status is. Maybe in your relationship, you might think you have more power over someone else, and also money. Sometimes you think if people have got more money than you, they have more power because they can make bigger and better
Yeah.
decisions than you. And it can slightly empower you and take that power away from you. So I guess that's what I've been reflecting on, because I know I've lost my power on many occasions. And I wanted to really reflect on the divorce process and where we're at. So in episode 1, Sam really deep dives into the divorce process and what that looks like. So again, if you've not heard any of our previous episodes, it'd be really great for you to just go back and listen to really episode 1, 2, and 3, because power will help hold the foundations of everything that we've been talking about. So just to recap with the divorce process, generally it takes 12 months, as we spoke about, Sam, and that's on a good day. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can shave a couple of months. Sometimes you can shave a couple of months off and get it done quicker, like myself. I was very lucky. I managed to get mine done in about 10 months' time. But just to remind people, at the very early stages that we talk about, you go through the divorce application first. You then have a 20-week reflection period.
Yeah.
You then have the conditional order, which is where basically the court review it, give you a green tick and go,
Yeah.
yeah, you can continue with proceeding. You then have the financial settlement.
Yeah.
And once the financial settlement's been completed, you have the final order, which is where you the legal ending of your divorce. The financial settlement is where we are at the minute. Imagine you're about 6 months in. Now, within your financial settlement, we start talking about Form A, your D81, you'll have a Form E. If things don't go well, you'll have a Form H, you'll have a Form G, and you'll have questioning.
Yeah.
This is where all of a sudden gets lost and gets blurred. So I want to define power first. Let's pause that for a second. When I got divorced, my divorce came through in October on a Friday, and 2 days later, I had a skydive booked. And I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Very coincidental. It wasn't booked in any way whatsoever. I'd gone through a divorce, which is a story in itself, and I'll tap into it a little bit as well in this part. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to solve all of my problems. I'm going to do this skydive and feel just so powerful. I'm going to get back all my power and I'm going to feel amazing. Did my skydive 2 days later, and I called it my freedom jump. My freedom jump. Amazing. I did my skydive. Now, it wasn't until after I'd done it, it's actually not, I don't want to put anybody off. It was an amazing experience. I was hyping everybody up when I was there. Come on, guys, it's going to be amazing. Everyone was looking at me all really weirdly, going, oh my God, you realize you just throw yourself out at 220 miles an hour. Why is this woman so excited? That was me. Anyway, the transition from up there to the ground, very different. When I landed, I was very, very ill. And unbeknown to me at the time, is my body went into shock. Now, if anyone's experienced going into shock, it's not nice. And I wasn't sure what was going on. I was physically sick. Felt awful.
Yeah.
I was sort of coming in and out of consciousness. My blood pressure dropped, and the friends that I was with nearly called an ambulance for me because they had to drive my car home because I was just violently sick all the way home. And when I got home, I had 4 days at home off work, didn't work, which is unheard of for me. The point of this story is I not only emotionally but physically felt sick. I was trying to seek reclaiming my power externally. And it took me years to realize that a skydive isn't going to solve all your problems. It was the internal power that I needed to reestablish. I threw myself into cold water therapy. I did solo camping. I did all sorts of stuff thinking I was all of this self-care. I'm going to go and do massages. I'm going to do this. But what I didn't realize is that the power comes from here and here. And it wasn't until I think the real turning point for me was when I did my Reiki, because obviously I realized Reiki is quite spiritual for me. It was calming, it was relaxing, and I kind of finally got in tune with my body. But also, I was very lucky that I had people like Sam and my friends around me to help me internally heal as well. So the point of the story is when you're trying to reclaim power, we need to start from within, and that's the hardest bit.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, doesn't it, how, because you're the same person, you're exactly the same person from when you were at the top of that skydive to the bottom of that skydive. And that was not going to fix you. And I think going back to what we talked about in our last session, and and I know you're coming on to power phrases, but you remembered who you were and the game changed. You had to work on yourself to get to a point where you, like you say, you were confident and could talk about your power again and practice your power, people pleasing, all of that sort of thing. But you had the confidence in yourself again.
Yeah, exactly it. So when you believe that there's a place in the future that will bring you all of the right things in life, you end up getting exhausted and hustling and just becoming power hungry and controlling. And we all fall into that trap. We end up chasing what we think is going to give us back the power. And the purpose of this episode is that where it shoehorns in with where you're going to be in your divorce, when you're going through that financial settlement. And Sam, I know you've had so many clients where you will hear them say they will literally rip each other apart because there is a power struggle because because obviously with your financial settlement, you start discussing things like property and pensions and inheritance and businesses and children, and you start debating on who contributed the most in this part. You start becoming this power controlling cycle. So the purpose of this is how do you get back to your power? How do you start? What does your power look like? And it takes time. People literally just want to be ripped apart. And it's like, what we want to do is we want to cultivate and coach you and go, right, within this financial settlement stage, think about all of the other episodes that we've been speaking about, where we've spoken about the grief cycle, the divorce fatigue. We've spoken about in episode 2, the manual and the window of clarity, boundaries and values. You need all of these layers because when you finally get to this financial settlement stage, my God, you're going to need the strength and power from within to be able to cope with
To get
it,
through it.
just rather than it being a 12-month process. Sam, I know you've had clients where it's been going on for years, years and years and
Oh
years,
gosh.
because they just can't come to a resolution. They can't come to a solution in moving forward with their lives because there's this power
No.
struggle. There's always one that
What
wants to
people
be,
do, they lock horns.
yeah. So
They literally
what
lock
I thought,
horns and don't want. It gets to be, oh, that's unfair, that's unfair, that's unfair. And I get it. When you're in that cycle, you can't see beyond that. So what you're explaining about, Rachel, it's just getting to a stage where you can reclaim your power and think sensibly moving forward rather than it being clouded
yeah,
by this power struggle.
yeah. So what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd share with people what power feels like for me, because I think what that might do, it might just help people, give them some guidance. And these are, I guess, these have taken me years to establish, and this doesn't happen overnight. And this is again where it takes time. And if we can accelerate you through this period and give you the full cake, we're giving you all the ingredients, and we want you to have the
Yeah,
cake so you can then go away and start implementing them now. I thought if I
yeah,
shared my own personal power experiences and what that looks like, it just might help people understand. So where do I find my power? And I have written them down because they're ones that I'm really passionate about. So I thought I'd just read them out to you. It's a tough question to ask. So when you sort of say to someone, what's your power? The most powerful thing I do now in my life is make decisions, and
love
that's
that.
it.
Yeah,
I
love it.
literally can make my own decisions in my life. I make big decisions in my life now about who and what I want to spend my time with, what I want to do with my life, what I believe in, how I want to feel, what I want to create, and when I want to say no. I have power over all of those decisions.
You're in control. You're in control of yourself and your life.
And I know that doesn't sound very super sexy, and it sounds like quite simple when you think about it.
I love
But
it.
to get to that position where to reclaim your power from within and not give away your
Yeah,
power, probably the biggest one for me in quite recently is learning to say no. And I know we
yeah,
spoke about that with our values and our boundaries and people pleasing, the power to be
yeah,
able to go, actually, no, politely,
yeah.
obviously. You can just say
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
can like articulate it nicely.
yeah.
So it's important that we are self-aware. Self-awareness is probably another fundamental tool that we need in order to be able to be in that powerful position. So I had a lady reach out to me quite recently and she said to me, Rachel, I've lost my power. I'm currently at this middle stage with my husband, and he is dominating all of the finances. He's saying that I won't get this, you're not going to get that. If you don't agree to this, we're going to let this go run through the courts, and it's going to take years and years and years for you to divorce me. And she said, how do I claim back my power? And I talked her through the process of just being able to talk about the manual, being able to just be able to realize that you can't change people. You have to let it go.
Yeah,
The window of clarity that we spoke about, about what you can control, what you can't control, what you can park,
yeah,
and what's urgent. But I also
yeah,
said to her, she said, we end up arguing, always arguing. So I introduced her to a concept called the hook. And if you imagine, do you remember when you used to throw a hook out like that and reel someone in, that sort of analogy,
yeah,
and take a
yeah,
bait? It's kind of that concept where what happens is we're up against our future partner and we're arguing and it gets very confrontational and it can get really hot. It's so emotionally draining. The power to be able to pause and just walk away and not take the bait
yeah.
takes real strength. And it's not because you're showing
So
signs of
true.
weakness. It's not because you're showing signs of being someone walking all over you. It's not because you're giving in, because you've got nothing to prove.
Yeah,
And
not
they're
at
all
all.
thoughts in your head. Because what happens is you then get into this power fight of, oh, he just said that to me, and you'll walk away and go, oh my God, I wish I'd said this to them. Why didn't
Right.
I say that to them? God, I forgot to mention
Yeah.
this. But if you get to a
And
point where
you're
you're
not
sort of
fueling the
engaged,
fire, are you? You're not
correct,
fueling the fire, so it's
you're
just
not.
staying, you're fast, you know, so where my parents live, there's lots of common land, as in common. And I remember when we were kids, they're dotted all over the common. If there was a fire, you could just beat the fire out. I can't really explain what I'm saying, but do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And it's like that,
yeah,
just the flame's gone, end of, which
yes,
is exactly what
exactly.
you're saying.
You diffuse the situation. You immediately take your back. And I mentioned this in part one about my power sentence is, you take back your power. You're an example of what's possible because if you continue to go back and forth, the end game is if you want to be able to divorce peacefully, but always be a massive advocate for this.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that has had a successful divorce and gone, oh yeah, our divorce was lovely. We sat down, we had mediation, and everything was all nice and smooth and beautiful. We might have had a little bit of negotiation back and forth, and we might have just, you know, I remember, and I don't mind sharing this with you, that when me and my husband separated, I might add that although I instigated the divorce, it wasn't until after, on two occasions, my husband said to me, "Give me £100,000 and I'm off." He actually added a
Mm.
swear word in there. But he said that to me twice. And on the second occasion, I looked at him, and obviously there was a lot of context around that conversation. There was something he didn't agree with. And he looked at me and he said, "Give me 100,000 and I'm off." And I looked at him and I went, "Okay, we'll do it." Although the 100,000 is another entity. But because I followed
Yeah.
it through, I instigated the divorce. So his response to that was, "Well, if you're going to want to divorce me, you pay for everything. I'm not paying a thing." And I was like, because he wanted the power, he wanted me to concede and go, "No, it's okay, don't worry, it's fine, we'll get back together." But because I found the strength and courage from within and go, "You've
Okay.
threatened me, Dwight. I'm
Yeah.
done."
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of strength because then obviously that then sets slight tone, unfortunately, for the rest of our divorce because it was very much then a battle of how much it was going to take. But he never paid a penny for our divorce. He didn't pay for the divorce application. He didn't have a solicitor, all constantly trying to regain that power, strength.
Mm.
But I found the strength from within on those occasions where I knew he was trying to hook me in. I just was like, I'm not
You
engaging.
kept your nerve, you kept your nerve, and you kept your power. And at the end of it, you can pat yourself on the back because you did it.
So
Yeah.
although I always say I instigated the divorce, that's just an example, and I'm sure there's so many other cases where people are going through similar situations. But this is why I'm so passionate about this particular topic at this particular stage of your divorce, when you are in
Yeah.
that financial settlement
Yeah.
stage, is to
Yeah.
have folks like us to help guide you to check in
Yeah.
with us. And because obviously we can't give legal advice, but we can give you all of these amazing tools to go, okay, so what we need to do is we're recognizing what's going on here. Let's just calm it down. Let's just slow it down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think probably the power's in you all the time. It's just
Yeah,
getting that power out, recognizing it, and being brave enough to stick with it. And I think that, again, what we've talked about, this is obviously in the concept of divorce proceedings, but on financial proceedings. But I think that goes with life, doesn't it? As through a concept
massively.
that you can get into the whole of your life. We've talked about this before. I haven't been divorced, but I was always told, and I'm talking about your power and your superpower and what you said about your strengths, which are incredible, and how you live by your strengths now, and you've recognised them and worked on them. And I am wholeheartedly a very sensitive person. I have been all my life. That's just the way I am. And I have friends who you think, and it's only looking back when you've done all this work on yourself. And since training to be a coach and starting this whole coaching world, that's what I have discovered. And what, as in working on myself, but through the whole of my life, people have said, well, Sam, she doesn't like an argument. She doesn't like to get into confrontation, despite me being obviously a family law practitioner, and she
Yeah.
doesn't like confrontation. She doesn't like it. I'm weak. I'm all this. I've had it all my life. Well, actually, loves, I've turned my weakness, my sensitivity around I am extremely strong, and I know that I'm extremely strong, and I've turned it into a career. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Do you know what I mean? So I think we
Yeah,
have our power all along, and it's just getting that power out and being proud of
it is.
it. I remember thinking,
Yeah,
"Oh God, I'm not like everybody else because I don't like confrontation. I don't like this." There's nothing wrong with that at all. You are who you are, and your power, whatever that might be, you will claim it back, whatever that might be,
yeah,
as you go along. So that's just a little
massively.
story, but it's
Love it.
huge.
Yeah. Well, it's huge. And it's
Mm.
like, as we say, and I feel like we're echoing it all the time, these are life skills. They're not just
Yeah,
for the here and now. Once you've got divorced, it's like, oh,
yeah,
wonderful. You will find that it will embed in you. And I know now I continue with, and don't get me wrong, I sometimes find my, you know, needing to get back in check. I'm not perfect. I'm not always sticking to my
yeah,
boundaries and my values. But I know I
yeah,
now need that. My power is to go, pause, Rachel, think about it. Don't respond to that message as
yeah,
quickly as you used to. Take some time before you reply back to that friend. Or, there's an email that's come in. Just reflect on it. Just get back to it maybe a little bit later on today. Think about the words that I'm choosing. How do I want to? And it has literally changed my life. I am
you're so
literally,
right.
literally changed my life. So
Yeah,
that hopefully will help people, give them a bit of a kickstart as to where and
yeah,
how and what their power looks like from in. But I guess the next question is how do we define it? How do we cultivate it? And again, I want to give you some examples. Sam, you've just touched on something beautifully, something that I'm echoing in the same as well. And again, I thought if I share my own personal ones, you'll find what my power is and how I cultivate it, as in how do I put that into practice? How do I put my power? Now I know what my power is, and
yeah,
that is in making decisions. What do my decisions now look like going forward? That's what I mean by cultivating. So again, I'm going to read these off as well. I've got four just to give you an example. So number one is my ability to make my ideas happen. If I know power comes from my decisions, I can make my decisions happen. And today is an example. My ideas actually happen. So Sam and I came up with an idea, we make it happen. Number two, the ability to take massive actions by handling my failures. My failures will not define me. I had a failed marriage. Failed as a mother. I failed as a friend and even as a daughter. But I am now the strongest I have ever been, and I will learn from it and I will keep moving forward. And failure is my strength. And number three, the power to manage my emotions and not react to them. What I mean by that is having the power to recognize when I'm buffering in terms of over drinking, overeating,
yeah,
addictions, people pleasing, buffering. I now know my values and my boundaries in life. That's what I mean by managing my emotions and not reacting to them. I know when I can stop buffering.
yeah,
And finally, my ability and willingness to say no is my true power. So it's like now fundamentally when I make my decisions, and as you just said, you learn from your failures, you know where your weaknesses are. So do you become, the victim mentality, or do you become like the emperor of your world sort of thing?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The
So
phoenix.
I thought exactly it. So I thought if I shared what my power is and then how I cultivate it, it kind of gives people a little bit of a starting point to go, right,
Yeah,
okay. And as I say, when this
yeah,
question came in from Riven and she said, you don't want to give your power away to anybody ever.
mm.
Because the minute
No,
you
no,
do
no,
that
no.
is, but then it's really hard to recognize how do I find the strength to cultivate to get it back? And sometimes it's worth just maybe writing things down as well. You might come across a situation and just pause. Probably the best
Yeah.
advice I can give anyone now is just pause. That gives you the power to think, slow down. And as I say,
And
when
don't you
you're
think
at
as
the
well?
12,
Yeah, sorry. Don't you think as well that if something feels off, that generally it generally is off. So if you feel that
yes,
a situation is off, So, and then we go back to values and boundaries, don't we?
Yeah.
And putting that into place, so, and that took a long time for me to learn, actually. Trusting
Yeah.
who you are, trusting your instinct, and putting all your trust in your power and who you are, because there's nobody
Yeah.
quite like you, you know?
Yes, 100%. And it's about that, just to finish, it's just having that 50-50 balance. Again, I think that was another one of my power sentences that we spoke about, obviously, in part one, is life is 50-50. And when I realized
Yeah.
that, I was like, it can't be unicorn and daisies all the bloody time. You have to have the real low times. You know what I mean? It's okay.
Yeah, that's
And some
it.
people go, well, I want to be 80% happy and 20%. No, it's 50-50. If
Yeah,
every good day
yeah,
you're going to have a shit day as well, it's
yeah,
fine. The minute I realised that life is 50-50, if I'm having a real crap
yeah,
day today, I know today's going to be storming.
yeah,
So
exactly.
hopefully, exactly it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
hopefully
that
that
was
has
so
given
helpful. That was so
everybody
powerful.
a powerful, and I think it's easy to miss a lot of, we use empowering an awful lot in the wellness
Mm.
industry. And I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of using the word empowering. Everything's all empowering,
Thank you.
empowering this, empowering that. And that's great. But what does it actually mean? What does the power mean? So I wanted to really drill down and really just go,
Yeah.
but that's lovely. But what does power mean? Everything is empowering, but let's
Yeah.
just really dig. And I thought it'd just be a perfect time to address this halfway through the year,
Yeah.
halfway through your divorce. You need the power,
Yeah.
internal power. Reflect, go back and listen to Sam and I's previous episodes. I really urge you to do that, because fundamentally, when you come to needing power, you need all of your concepts all in place
You
to
do.
just go,
You
right,
do.
this is a boundary violation. Hang on a second. I need to get back the power here. Hang on, is this one of my values? It's not actually. I've got
Yeah.
the power.
Yeah.
I can forward. I'm in the grief cycle. Okay, I know I'm there. It's fine. I can pull myself back in. You
Yeah.
know, someone's
Yeah.
someone's not doing manual. Need to throw the manual away. I know now. I've got the power to go. It's fine. The way they're going to be. I hope that will make sense
And
to
knowing that this is
everybody.
only temporary, this season is only temporary. There is a
It
life
is.
beyond divorce. Just
It
remember that
is.
all the time. And
100%. We just
take
want to
these
get you to
deep
that.
breaths. It's so important.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, throughout the rest of the year, Sam and I have got some really exciting episodes coming in to
Oh,
finish off. And there's so many more topics. We'll be following it into next year as well. But
yeah.
the idea was that this year we want to take you through those 12 steps, those 12 fundamental steps of changing your life, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Episode 5, we are really excited to announce that we have our very first guest. We
We
have
do.
a lovely, lovely guy called Simon Holland, and he is known as the Diary of a Divorce. And I met Simon when I was going through some of my coaching experience as well, and he's absolutely delighted to come and join us next month. And we'll be discussing men's mental health,
Yeah.
because Simon's gone through a divorce
Mhm.
and he's also in the process of becoming a coach as well. So what we want to do is just see it from a different perspective and talk about how men's mental health whilst going through a separation and divorce, and how that looks moving forward, keeping it really positive, also reflecting a lot for him as well. So he is super excited to be joining us. So that will be part 1 of episode 5. And also part 2, the three of us are going to have a really open conversation about the value of a coaching session and what coaching looks like as a living. So we're going to be sharing the huge benefits of having a coach, three of us, but also what
Yep.
it looks like for us as running a business as well, and maybe some challenges that we've come across and pitfalls. It's going to be a really open conversation.
I'm really looking.
We I know. So we are so excited to have Simon come and join us next month in June. We'll let you know when that goes out. We're going to be recording
Yeah.
around about the beginning, and then it will probably use your fashion. It'll go out about the week after. So usual thing, if anybody out there's got any questions about men's mental health in particular, if anyone's intrigued about coaching and want to ask us any questions about what coaching, how we got into it, we'll talk about how we met, how we got into it, how we're finding the industry, all the benefits of a coach. If you've been sitting on the fence a little bit and you've been listening to us and you're like, I like the idea of this coaching, but you're not quite sure, and you want us to just, give you that little bit of nudge on helping out, like, give some ideas and stuff that you might think, then this will be the episode for you to listen to. And it's a really nice halfway point for us as well. So we're going to reflect a lot as well. So, and again, if you need any support on reclaiming your power, recalibrating your power and what that looks like, usual thing, you can get hold of us. We've got our email address, which is hello@theseparationspace.co.uk. You can get hold of Sam and I anytime. Usual thing, DMs, links, you name it, bios, they're all there. Our numbers, our email addresses, all there for you.
Exactly. That was really interesting, Rachel. That was so powerful.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, good. It's so lovely to see you as always. So what are you up to for the rest of the weekend? Tell me very quickly what you're up to for the rest of the weekend.
I've got a very exciting weekend. This is what my life has become. I'm having a pergola put up tomorrow. I've been wanting this pergola for so long, and we've had it made, and it's being put up tomorrow. And then I can buy loads of plants and pretty it up, and I'm so excited about that. So in the summer,
so I was going to say, in the summertime, we can sit outside, both of us, in the sunshine, morning sun, with our pergolas and a cup of tea, and then we'll do an episode outside. That'll be amazing.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. Hopefully the rain will stay off.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah. How about you?
Nothing exciting. I am working tomorrow, but that's the usual scenario with me. And I've got my 2 girls here. They're eager beaver to go out and do some shopping and spend money.
Oh,
usual story. Who am I to decline it? I tell you what, just very quickly on power. There are only 3 people in my life that's got the power over me, and that's my daughters and my mum. And that's the only 3 people. Oh yeah, it's Dave. Yeah. I give in. When they go, Mum, can I have this? No. Oh, all right then. So just remember, going back to power, remember, I only give my power away to a very few people, and that's my girls and my mum and Dave. Yeah. So, there we go. Yeah. On that note, we'll finish. On that note, love you, guys.
Yeah. Lovely to see you.
Take care, guys, and we look forward to seeing you all next month. Okay, guys, take care. See you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. Bye.